Welcome back to the English Conversation Hub, everyone. I'm Ava.
And I'm Oliver. This is the podcast for learners who want to go from just knowing English to actually speaking English.
That is it exactly. And today, we've got a topic that I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you out there. It's a feeling so many learners have. You know, Oliver, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was watching a video of myself from about 10 years ago when I was first starting to learn Spanish. And, it was painful to watch. I was so stiff and so worried about making mistakes. It's a journey, isn't it?
It's the big one. We've titled this episode, I Studied English for Years and Still Could Not Talk. This is What Changed.
Ooh, I felt that in my soul. I mean, honestly, Oliver, does that sound familiar to you from your own journey?
Oh, absolutely. It's the great frustration, isn't it? You can read a book, you can understand a movie, but the moment you have to open your mouth to say hello, all of that knowledge just seems to evaporate.
Evaporate. That is the perfect word. It's like this wall comes down. And I think the first thing we need to talk about is why that happens. The big trap that so many of us fall into.
You mean the grammar trap?
The grammar trap. Exactly. You spend all this time in a classroom, right? And you're learning about the past perfect continuous and all these, really complex grammatical structures.
Right? The stuff that's on the test.
The stuff that's on the test, and you get good at it. You can fill in the blanks, you can pass the exams, but then someone comes up to you on the street and asks for directions, and your mind just goes completely blank.
Completely blank. Because in that moment, your brain isn't thinking about communication. It's scrambling through this giant mental library of grammar rules, trying to construct the absolute 100% perfect sentence.
Yes, and the fear of making a mistake is just paralyzing. You're so worried about using the wrong preposition or the wrong tense that you end up saying nothing at all.
It's the difference between knowing about a language and being able to use it. They're two completely different skills. You can be a brilliant historian of music, know every composer, every symphony, but that doesn't mean you can sit down at a piano and play. Speaking is the playing.
That's such a great analogy. It really is. And I think that brings us to the first huge change, the thing that has to happen in your head before anything else can work. It's a mindset shift.
Right? You have to stop thinking of yourself as an English student and start thinking of yourself as an English user.
A user. I love that. What does that mean to you, being a user?
Well, a user's goal isn't perfection. It's communication. It's about getting your message across. If you say, yesterday I go to the store, is it grammatically perfect? No.
Nope.
But did the other person understand you? Almost certainly, yes. A student gets stuck on the mistake. A user celebrates the communication.
Oh, I remember my big breakthrough moment with this. I was studying abroad in Ireland, and I had all my textbook English, so proper, and I was terrified to talk to anyone.
Of course.
And one day, I got completely lost looking for a bus stop. My phone was dead, and I had no choice. I had to ask someone for help. And I stumbled, I forgot words, I probably sounded like a total mess. But this incredibly kind old woman, she listened patiently, and then she smiled and pointed me in the right direction. And I got on the right bus. In that moment, none of the mistakes mattered. I communicated. I survived. It was liberating.
That's the moment. That's the click. When you realize that mistakes aren't failures, they're just part of it. They're data. You wouldn't expect to learn to ride a bike just by reading the manual, right?
Exactly. You have to get on and probably fall a few times, scrape your knee.
And every fall teaches you something about balance. Every speaking mistake teaches you something about the language. So, okay, the mindset is the foundation. Give yourself permission to be imperfect.
Permission to be messy.
Yes? Once you have that, then we can talk about the practical things, the actual techniques that build on that foundation. This is the stuff that really changes the game.
Okay, let's get into it. What's the first big practical change someone can make, like, today?
Well, you have to change your input. You have to immerse yourself. Your brain has been trained to treat English as a school subject. You need to retrain it to see English as just part of the world. Oh.
Okay, so immersion. That sounds big. Like you have to move to another country.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. You can create an immersion environment right where you are. Simple things. Change the language on your phone to English.
Oh, that's a good one. A little scary, but good.
It is, but you'll figure it out. Start watching your favorite movies or TV shows, but watch them in English. Maybe with English subtitles at first, not your native language subtitles.
Right, so you're connecting the sound with the written word. That's huge. And podcasts? I mean,
Podcasts, audiobooks, music, just fill your ears with the sounds of the language, even if you're not actively listening. It's called passive listening. Just have it on in the background while you're cooking or cleaning. Your brain is absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, the flow, all of it.
you're basically tricking your brain into getting comfortable with English, so it stops being this foreign, scary thing and just becomes noise, and then sound, and then language.
Exactly. And this is a big but, immersion, the input, is only half of the equation. It's crucial, but it won't make you a speaker on its own.
Right. You can't just listen. That goes back to your piano analogy. You have to actually play.
You have to produce. You have to practice the output. And this is the part that most people avoid because it's the scariest.
Okay, so how do we do it? How do we start producing the language in a way that doesn't feel like a high-pressure performance?
You start with the lowest pressure situation imaginable. You talk to yourself.
Okay, I do this anyway, so.
We all do, so just do it in English. Seriously, narrate your day, out loud. Okay, now I'm making a cup of coffee. I'm getting the mug from the cupboard. Where is the sugar?
It sounds so simple, almost silly, but it's brilliant because you start to notice where the gaps in your vocabulary are. Like, you might not know the word for kettle or toaster.
Precisely. And then you can look it up. You're building active, useful vocabulary that's relevant to your actual life. You're also just getting your mouth used to forming English words. It's physical. It's muscle memory.
It really is. Your tongue and your lips literally have to learn new movements. Okay, so talking to yourself is step one. What's next?
The next step up in pressure, but also in reward, is finding someone to talk to, a real person. But again, it needs to be low stakes.
This is where technology is amazing, right? There are so many apps now for language exchange. You can find someone who is learning your native language and wants to practice English.
Exactly. The beautiful thing about that is that you're both learners. You both understand the struggle. You're not going to be judged. You can talk for 15 minutes in English, then 15 minutes in their language. It's a safe space to practice and make those inevitable mistakes.
And online tutors, too. You can find people for just conversation practice. It's not a grammar lesson, it's just a chat about your gay, about your hobbies, whatever.
The key is consistency. A 15-minute conversation 3 times a week is infinitely better than a 2-hour marathon session once a month. You need to keep the engine warm.
Totally. It builds confidence so quickly. Every successful conversation, no matter how small, is a win. It proves to your brain that you can do it.
There's one more technique I want to mention, which is kind of a bridge between listening and speaking. It's called shadowing.
Oh, I love shadowing. Can you explain what it is for our listeners?
Sure. You take a short audio clip, maybe a sentence or two from a podcast or a movie, where you like the speaker's voice. You listen to it once, then you play it again, and you speak along with them at the exact same time, like a shadow.
You're not just repeating the words, you're trying to copy everything.
Everything. The speed, the pitch, the rhythm, the pauses, the emotion. It's an incredible exercise for pronunciation and for getting the natural music of English into your voice.
It is. It helps you get past that robotic word-by-word way of speaking that often happens when you're translating in your head. You start speaking in chunks and phrases, just like a native speaker.
So, to recap the practical side, immerse yourself with input, change your environment, then produce output. Talk to yourself, find a partner, and practice shadowing.
It really comes down to this, doesn't it? The reason you couldn't talk before, even after years of study, wasn't because you weren't smart enough or didn't know enough grammar. It's because you weren't practicing the actual skill of talking.
You know, this reminds me of a story about a friend who went on her first big work trip to San Francisco. That's the whole story. You were studying for the wrong test. The test isn't on paper. The test is a conversation.
Oh, a real trial by fire. Wow, that's a perfect summary. So, for everyone listening who feels stuck in that grammar trap, what's our final message?
I'd say, be kind to yourself. Acknowledge the hard work you've done. And now, give yourself permission to play, to experiment, to connect with another human being. Focus on communication, not perfection.
And start small. Change your phone's language today. Narrate your breakfast tomorrow. Find one person to say hello to online this week. Every small step builds into a giant leap.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. But the good news is, you can start running today.
We'd love to hear about your own journeys and what's worked for you. Find us on our social media channels and share your story. What was the one thing that changed everything for you?
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the English Conversation Hub.
Keep listening, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep talking. We'll see you next time.